1,315,275,402 Alabama football podcasts on the internet. And now you get to ignore every single one. This is the Houndstooth Podcast. Real talk from real fans. We gump to a standard around here. Recapping the Alabama Crimson Tide and college football from around the SEC and across the nation. This is the Houndstooth Podcast. And here are your hosts, Bill Sylvie, Jessica Brand, John Henry, and Bo Ganora.
And good morning, sports fans. How the heck are you today? This is your humble host at large and my co-hosts, John Henry, Jessica Brand, and Bo Ganora. Hell of a great sports day yesterday.
Absolutely. Alabama won. Auburn lost. We got to what? Oh, Oklahoma lost. Good day.
It was
could have been better had Notre Dame lost, but you know.
We take our W's where we can, though.
You have to be careful about peaking too early in the season. You have to peak at the right time.
Yes, if you peak at all. But anyway, Alabama looked predictably solid against NMSU. I don't think we saw anything terribly surprising yesterday. I find it kind of funny. If you put any faith in the FPI, which I know some live and die by it and some don't, there was a little bit of movement in it. In the first quarter, it actually dropped down to 99.7. Which
man, fire everybody.
Fire everybody. Fire me, fire you, fire Jessica, fire everyone. No, nobody survives from this. But no, Alabama looked absolutely solid. They were a unit yesterday. Yes, they went 3 and out on their opening drive. I get it, but I have no complaints. It was a good fun game. I mean, my gosh, our quarterbacks were all awesome yesterday, but we'll talk about that when we talk about the numbers. It was good fun. That was my takeaway. Bo, what do you got on yesterday?
Yeah, going 3 and out on the first drive is they tend to do that on these cupcake games for some reason. And maybe it's just that I remember when they do and I don't remember when they don't. But it seems like that's a problem. I hate to admit it, but I had the Bama game relegated to the small screen yesterday because I was watching the Auburn game with my wife on the big screen. So I did watch, paid more attention to the Bama game. It was cool to see Jay Barker's kid get in there and complete a pass. Hey, look, right? He's on the team. So yay.
That was fun.
Yeah, so overall it was an enjoyable game. I hate the injuries though. That bugs me. And I go back and forth on these games. It's like, it's like you said, it's a live fire exercise, but we don't need any friendly fire. I hate that for Williams and JoJo Earl. That's hopefully it sounds like maybe Earl may be back at some point, but it sounds like Williams is out for a while. So I hate that.
Roydell's done with a torn ACL, and that just this kind of game, it just I hurt for us as fans. I hurt for Roydell as a player. I hurt for the program for what it's going to do to us going into the home stretch. But But yeah, what can you say?
Yeah.
John, what do you think?
Well, it was a little bit sloppy until somebody finally got the Keurig plugged in on the sidelines, and then we kind of straightened it out and got going from there. And we got to get them a power strip, guys. Something that Keurig's got to get going on those early games. Early. Can't wait until middle of the first quarter to get that thing going. Um, the defense played very well. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I can't remember the receiver's name for New Mexico State, but they had a kid that was making some great catches. One of their receivers was, I mean, he would be covered and the ball would get zipped in there in just a tiny little window, and he was making some diving catches early on. He had two or three of those, and I mean, it wasn't that they weren't covered, and the quarterback was usually under duress when it happened. I was a little impressed by that. I mean, a couple of guys over there were playing real hard early and making some plays, and that made their first quarter made us look a little worse. But overall, the defense played a very good game,
Yep.
and the offense, once they decided to, after the first couple of drives, did very well and just did whatever they wanted to do, which is what you want to see in a game like this. So I like the intensity, and I like that we kept it up the whole game. That's important.
Oh yeah, I agree. Intensity was the name of the game yesterday, and I feel like we were dialed in and we were where we needed to be. Jess, you got any thoughts? Any quick thoughts on it?
In a game like this, I'm looking for no injuries, and I'm looking to see if everything stays steady. Um, there was a little bit of concern I noticed early on with the secondary, and oddly enough, when Halam's thankfully he's healthy, but when Daniel Wright came in, again, a sentence I never thought I'd say, that's when you really start to see things be more assured in the secondary of proper communication. I think that's a one-off. We probably will never say that again, but it happened today. The offensive line was quick getting out of its stances and really not being too wide too quickly. Want to ease into your stance, because if you get wide too quickly, you're probably going to be like loose with your upper body. So I was happy with what I saw there, and that's more than just winning a battle against a team that you should easily be able to dominate. Again, there were some issues beyond in the first series that I noticed. They really were getting beaten pretty badly there, but beyond that, I mean, it was what you wanted to see just from a technical perspective, and that's even if the case if you were facing really a Georgia or a top ranked team like that. That's just encouraging to see going forward. Maybe not necessarily the results, but to see the fundamental basics. I can't complain.
Same. So the tail of the tape yesterday is just about as nice as you could want. So just rolling down the stats here. Bryce was 21 of 23 for 270 yards, averaging 11.7, which that I could be wrong here. That may be a high for him this season. If it matters to you, QBR of 94.6. Paul Tyson balling out, looking good. Paul 6 for 8, 43 yards, averaging 5.4. And I'm sorry, five touchdowns for Bryce yesterday. Very nice. Milrow 2 for 5, 17 yards with an average of 3.4. And Braxton Barker, Jay Barker's son, had one touch for 10 yards. So we were 30 for 37 on 340 yards with an average of 9 and 5 touchdowns yesterday in the passing department. Very nice. Rushing looked good. We looked good on the ground. B-Rob, 9 for 99, 2 touchdowns, long of 63. Trey Sanders, 12 for 66, averaging 5.5 with 1 touchdown and a long of 12. Jalen Milrow, we got a scrambling quarterback there. 5 for 26 with an average of 5.2 and 15 yards for his longest scramble. Christian Leary 3 for 22, average 7.3, long of 12. Demoy Kennedy, a name I'm not familiar with.
That's because he's a linebacker.
7 for 16, averaging 2.3, long of 7. Roydell 1 for 11, and Bryce Head 4 for 7, averaging 1.8, with a long of 12. Bryce getting out there on the grass and getting it done. So overall, 41 carries, 247 yards, average 6 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground, long of 63. Again, with B-Rob breaking it loose. Defensive, I'm sorry, I almost jumped straight into defense without giving our receiving crew the nod. Jamison Williams, 6 for 158, average 26. 3 touchdowns with a long of 50. Mechie, 6 for 48, averaging 8, long of 26. B-Rob, 5 for 36, average 7.2, long of 21. Javon Baker, 2 for 21, averaging 10.5, long of 16. Thao Jones Bell, 2 for 16, average 8, long of 8. Slade out there running, 1 for 13. Cameron Latu, 1 for 12. Trayshawn Holden, 2 for 11, with a long of 13, average 5.5, obviously. A Guy Hall. Thank you, young man. Thank you. You've done what needed to be done. 1 for 10. Ja'Cory Brooks, 1 for 9. Robbie Oots, 1 for 8. Jaleel, 1 for 5. And Christian Leary got put on his butt, 1 for -7. So overall, 340 yards on the ground, 30 carries, 5 TDs, and average of 11.3 on the ground with a long of 50. Fumbles. Eboigbe recovered 1. Bryce dropped 1. Defensively, good Lord, everybody ate.
That is a long list.
That is a long list, and we will be here till well after lunch. I hate not giving guys the nod. So if you guys, I know Jess is going to come in with the stats breakdown on defense, but we had 55 tackles, 43 of those were solos, 7 sacks yesterday. I'm trying not to get overexcited because this is NMSU we're talking about.
Yeah.
But 7 sacks, 12 tackles for a loss. We had a punt block. We had a punt block yesterday that was not called back for roughing the kicker. We had 4 quarterback hurries. So, yeah, defense was solid. No interceptions. 1 kick return, Slade to Blade, 15 yards. Punt returns, again, Slade looking good. 2 for 37, averaging 18.5. Jalen Moody, 1 for 20. Leary, just 1 for 2. And Earl, I think just a fair catch there. No field goal attempts yesterday, but Reichert was perfect on point afters. Jack Martin, 1 punt for 29.
So yesterday I learned that we have a place kicker named Jack Martin.
I'm sorry, that was a field goal. I said punting. Yes, Jack Martin. Yesterday I learned. So Nick going deep into the depth chart there. Jack Martin, field goal, just a 29-yarder. And Burnett punting, Burnett punting, 2 for 76 with a long of 39.
So my brother texted me yesterday, and he's like, sent me a picture. They went to the races at the short track Talladega yesterday, and he's like, "Hey, this is what we doing today." And he said, "Did Coach let clear the bench and let the cheerleaders play?" And I said, "Hey, let the water boy kick a field goal."
No kidding. Good stuff. So, the fun part. What am I saying? The show's always fun. All the parts of our show are fun. Jess, what do you got? High tide, low tide?
Yeah, you need to add Jess back in.
Do I need to? Oh my gosh. Hello, Jess. I don't know
Hi.
how you fell off. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, high tide probably has to be really what I think was a really smart sack. That came just before the Aggie field goal attempt. It basically set the tone the rest of the way that they could dominate the opposing O line and that they can have fun with it from there. Low tide also came on the same drive. I would say, really, when you talk about the fact that you had some easy completions that were easily beating us on the boundary, kind of honestly looked like early stage Georgia against Tennessee this week. That was kind of concerning. Obviously, they wrapped it up and they started to put more guys back. They played more of a 7 look. Elephant Stump, you got your choice. I'm going to go with Brian Robinson just taking it off. I mean, you could pick any of the Jambo touchdowns, and I wouldn't blame you. But I think Brian Robinson going off like a firework in July 4th sky, that's what you take right there. So fun to see him, but I think was probably a career-long rush for him. So
I love that analogy. So for me, actually, no. John Henry, go ahead. Give us your high tide, low tide.
Well, I'll start with low tide. My low tide was actually on the Aggies opening drive, and it was the phantom face mask penalty, the one that didn't happen that got them down there. It's just upsetting to get ref balled against a team like this. It really is.
I know.
And I mean, this could have been a shutout. So allowing the Aggies to score first, but in particular a phantom face mask call. The high tide, the 50-yard pass to Jamison Williams, that was a nice one.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of helped things. It helped them turn it loose and figure out, oh yeah, we're Alabama and they're not. Let's go. And my elephant stop, B-Rob got a 65-yard touchdown. He outran the other team. It was really nice to see him do that. But also on that run, you could also see why it doesn't happen very often. He's quick and he's a good running back. He just doesn't have a whole lot on the top end. No, not for that level, and it's why he doesn't break loose that often. But it's really good to see him do it, and I was very happy for the man.
Yeah. So what do you got, Bo?
So low tide was our struggles at the center position. I saw lots of low snaps yesterday, which is not good. I don't understand. I played center. My son plays center. I know John Henry played some center. It happens, but it just seems like that is an ongoing issue that I don't know that we're going to be able to get fixed this season. So that was my low tide. My high tide was Mr. Bryce Young completing, I think, 14 passes in a row before he had a drop. I know he only did not complete 2 passes. One of those was a drop. So that's quite impressive. And then my elephant stomp is Mr. Robinson's 63-yard touchdown run. Just because it's, he's not going to get a lot of those because, like John said, he doesn't have that extra gear on the top end. But he put it out there yesterday, and it was good to see.
Oh yeah. Well, so I had there's a lot to choose from in a game like this of high tide moments. Just a quick note. Jess ran out of juice like Moody on the punt block, so she has to dip out, but you're here in spirit with us always, Jess. Anyway, so high tide. I'm gonna go with the 63-yarder. You know, I was gonna say the punt block, but Jess kind of stole the thunder, using it for her departure. But no, I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna say the 63-yarder. I gotta go with you guys. Low tide injuries. Injuries. I just, against this team. You know, if it was in whatever the final game of the season is, where these kids would have all spring to heal up, but injuries in a game against NMSU just sucks. It sucks for them. It sucks for us. Elephant stomp moment. Man, that's a tough one to pick. I would say elephant stomp is probably defense. Just the defense was suffocating yesterday. 7 sacks. That's my elephant stomp moment. There we go. Sorry being so wishy-washy on that, guys. Again, there's so much good stuff. So, with Jess having dipped out and we've covered our elephant stomp, it is halftime here on the Houndstooth podcast. That's right. It's halftime, and halftime is trivia time. Now, last week's trivia question, again, you guys are 0 for 2 over the last couple of weeks, audience. Y'all gotta get in there. Y'all gotta get in there and dig in. So last week's trivia question was, what was the last year that Alabama beat LSU by 40-plus points? Understand, they were favored, what was it, by 40 points, 45 points last week? I know we don't want to talk about the LSU game, but the last year that Alabama beat LSU by 40-plus points was I believe it was 1947.
Yeah, it's been a while.
1947. So I try not to take too much salt with last week's game. I mean, we haven't done it in quite a while, guys. Approaching 100 years. So that was the last time we were really shellacked LSU points wise. Oh, we've beaten them, and personally, I'll take I'll take the great removal of a Heisman Trophy and the handing it to Derrick Henry over some massive lopsided victory any day of the week. Y'all know the game I'm talking about too. So this week's trivia question, and this is an easy one. This is easy. This is Dad underhanding the Nerf ball to you in the living room on Christmas morning. Easy, okay? What was the last ranked 1A FBS team that NMSU faced? What is the name of that team? That is the trivia question this week. So put on your thinking caps. It's an easy one. The last ranked 1A FBS team that NMSU faced. Who was that team? And again, the emphasis is on ranked. So don't just start guessing one of the 128 teams out there. The ranked team that they faced. What was that team? So there's your trivia question at halftime. And you can put it in today's comments. You can leave it in the comments under the video if nobody gets it by the end of this broadcast, and you will get the shout out next week. So that is your trivia question, and that is halftime. So moving on. This is normally where we would hop in with Jess's no kiss, no hugs. Now I'm going to tell you something. Jessica Brand is a genius when it comes to her breakdown of the O's and X's of college football. And I would not even pretend to try and fill those shoes. It would be hilariously inept. But do you gentlemen have any comments, any significant plays that spring to mind?
Not particularly, no. I mean, I what I saw was like they were working on things, which is typically what happens in these games, right? The one notable standout for that was when Billingsley dropped his first pass, and then they literally called the exact same play. They're like, do it again till you get it right. That stood out to me. As far as breakdown plays, no, I didn't really see anything that stood out.
I noticed that one too. That was pretty funny. But let me ask you this: I hate the camera angles we get during the game because I can't see half the time jersey numbers, so I couldn't tell you who was playing on the offensive line. Who got the start at center this week?
Owens.
Yeah. And he's the one making the low snaps?
Yep.
I mean, I can't say anything. I'd roll him back there, but I of course, I didn't play college. But I'm surprised at that. But then again, he's been over at tackle all year and probably hasn't gotten as much practice. I just, for some reason, thought they were thinking about playing one of the younger kids.
The word on the street is Dalcourt will be back next week. We'll see if that's the case. So I don't, I don't have the full IR on that, but we'll see. Not, mind you, that he was doing a stellar job snapping the ball either. What was it against?
His tended to be high if he missed.
Yeah. Bryce early in the season was getting a lot of snaps in the face, and to Bryce's credit, he was he was handling those snaps without an issue most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing a good job of handling off target snaps, which is why I'm not worried about it quite so much. But who got the start at right tackle then? They did fairly well.
I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Yeah, I tried to find a participation chart and could not find it. And those, with that side view, you can't really always tell numbers, which drives me nuts.
I mean, I can look at the depth chart real quick. So right tackle, that was Owens.
Well, yeah, but Owens got down this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Was that Kendall Randolph then?
Might have been. I'll have to go back and rewatch that one.
Yeah, he's number 2 on the depth chart, so it was probably Kendall Randolph over there. And by the way, this is something that for our fans and for us that Jess turned me on to, and I'm going to share this link here in the comments. So there is Our Lads, which is a let's see, do I need to show that? Yeah, Our Lads, you can just go to that URL and it'll show you the depth chart for Alabama. And you can plug in any team, pro or college, but it is a lovely way to keep track of your rosters. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Jess, and thank you, Bill.
Oh, you're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. So, I think it's time we take a look around the conference, guys. What do we got?
So, what a wonderful day yesterday in the SEC.
Oh yeah.
Usually we start at the top, but let's start at the bottom with Auburn. So, a little bit of a personal story on this game. I was watching it with my wife, and she had laid down on the couch. We were out. Okay, so let me preface this by saying we didn't get until 2 a.m. Friday night because we had state playoffs, and my son was playing, so we didn't get home till 2 a.m. and so we were a little tired. She falls asleep in the second quarter, and it's 28-3. Auburn's winning 28-3. Falls asleep on the couch, and she wakes up, and it's 36-28. And she was so mad. She's like, "What the crap happened? I'm going back to sleep." So, but yeah, Auburn was handling Mississippi State, and then they just lost it. And I mean, you hate to see it, but Auburn got ref balled a couple of times. Now there's still
I don't hate to see it. I don't hate to see Auburn getting ref balled, and I just want to continue the hate. I'm sorry to step on you. Step on you, Bo. But Auburn stands on Toomer's corners, blowing leads for $5. There, I said it.
Auburn is still in they're still plus any on the rough calls, but they had a couple go against them yesterday, which, like I said, couldn't happen to a night.
Now, were they at home and getting ref ball? Because I didn't think that was possible.
They bounced a couple of checks.
I must have been
turned into both picks.
Yeah, that was. That was a Georgian juror. Where,
so that puts Auburn squarely in the next to last place for the SEC West, yes. Which, like I said, is surprisingly LSU was last.
I'm shocked.
I know, right? So that was a rather enjoyable game to watch if you're not a fan of the orange and blue. So, Tennessee was giving Georgia all that they could handle there for about 18 minutes, and then Georgia just out talented Tennessee.
Georgia.
I think if Hooker was more accurate of a quarterback, I do believe that Tennessee would have had a much better chance. But it was I think we saw some chinks in Georgia's armor yesterday that we haven't seen before. There's obviously there's money to be made there passing the ball against their secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Those chinks have been there the whole time. Just they haven't played anybody that had the ability to exploit it at all.
Yeah, that's the key. Exploitation is hitting those. The.
Did you guys watch the Ole Miss A&M game?
Second half, yeah.
Rather entertaining. I'm not exactly. I missed the first bit of the game. When I tuned in, it was 15. Oh, it was 12. It was 13-0. And then right as the first play after I turned it on, Ole Miss got the set.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's that game. They jumped out and they jumped all over Texas A&M. Their defense was playing great, especially in the first half.
Yeah, I
held on. So Ole Miss upsets the Aggies, which, yeah, go ahead, Bill.
No, I just There was a little audio hiccup. I didn't want to have dead air. I was just going to comment. I can't hate Ole Miss.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that moves Ole.
Yeah, we lost you again, Bo. But
the rest of the season. But don't we have a game's worth of cushion there? We still have two divisional games left, Arkansas and Auburn. But that A&M now has three.
Yeah, I think we do have. I think
So
we're one
the
game
only way
out
A&M
now.
go. Yeah, we're one game out now. So a little bit of a cushion there, which is
yeah.
We got a one game cushion, but we got to keep on pushing. That's mine.
Darn right.
Yeah, no kid. Arkansas and LSU went to overtime, and yeah.
Yeah, I
So go ahead, Bill.
No, I'm sorry. We're suffering some dropouts, and I'm trying to juggle the technical issues that StreamYard seems to be having with you. But no, go ahead. This is all you.
No, I was just saying that Arkansas and LSU went to overtime. LSU throws a interception in the first overtime. Arkansas kicks a field goal. They win that one, 16-13. Florida had a rough time with the Bulldogs. I'm sorry, the Samford Bulldogs. Now I don't know who the coach for Samford is, but he was making hay. And they paid them $500,000 to come down to Gainesville, and I was just sitting here going, okay, Dan Mullen's already fired the defensive coordinator, and had they lost that game, I think that they would have just fired Dan Mullen right there on the spot after the game. It'd be like, you're done. So Florida escapes the mighty Samford Bulldogs, 70-52, which is insane.
That's a basketball game. That's Big 12. Get out of here with that.
That's crazy.
That's a
Missouri,
pretty entertaining basketball game.
Yeah, 70-52 sounds like the actual score-ups Florida versus Samford in basketball.
Yeah.
Missouri eked out a win over South Carolina, and Kentucky beat Vanderbilt. So that is the SEC, where Georgia finishes the season undefeated in conference play for the first time since 1982. And all my Georgia fans are like, see, it's happening. And, because the last time that they did something in the early 80s, they all want to remind us about that. So
didn't they lose to Penn State that year?
The
year
82. I don't know, dude. I don't keep up with Georgia. But it seems like I think you're right. Yeah. Kentucky's second in the East, which is okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. So Alabama has to take care of Arkansas and Auburn, and then we are due for a date with Georgia in the SEC championship game. Fingers crossed. That's all I got. You guys have anything that happened in the SEC that you guys want to bring up?
Not as such, but for our fans, for myself, for my co-hosts, remember, one game at a time. We're focusing on Suey Pig. We'll talk about them at the end of the show. We'll talk about what's coming up. But remember, guys, it's one game at a time. Although, with that said, just from a rah-rah fan point of view, God, I hope Georgia does. I hope we beat Georgia. They're going to be insufferable. Insufferable.
Yeah, I was going to say they already are.
I know that. I get it. I get it. They're pretty insufferable now. But can you imagine? They're going to act like they took Stalingrad if they win out this year, because it's been 40 years and it's the dawning of their dynasty. I just don't want to see great value Lane Kiffin beat Nick Saban under any circumstances. So yeah, I'm really, really hoping that that if it comes to it, we beat Georgia. So that's all I've got on the SEC. Oh, and Auburn sucks. Screw Auburn. I hate you. You blue and orange and shit pigeons. So
tell us how you really feel, Bill.
I apologize if you were listening to this on or during church. On your way to or during church, rather. I am so glad. I am filled with hateful joy that Auburn lost yesterday, and they blew it in such a spectacular Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, so it was
fashion.
the largest comeback in Mississippi State's history.
Very, very good, Mississippi State. Nicely done. You can take something out of the prize box. I hope SEC Shorts focuses on that game this coming week. I really, really do. The
Florida's
game,
making that very difficult for them to do.
I know. Well, I mean, it's Florida, man. They should always just assume they're going to have something out of Florida to work with, if nothing else. But I mean, come on, 28-3, and then you get shellacked by Mississippi State. Oh, you love to see it. You love to see it.
They got pirated.
They did. So yeah, that's my only comment on the SEC. And once again, I apologize to Bo for steamrolling him on his comments. It just StreamYard kept choking you, and I was like, oh, let me just cover the. Oh no, you're back. Oh, you're quiet again. Let me just. Oh, you're back. So I apologize unreservedly. So,
shall we delve into the top 25?
Might as well.
Let us.
All right, let's plow through the top 25 so we can start talking about the top 10. So Georgia handled the Vols 41-17. We already know what happened. Alabama took care of those other Aggies 59-3. Oregon put away Washington State late, 38-24. They jumped out to a 14-0 lead, but then they let Wazoo back in the game, and they started pulling away late in the third quarter and into the fourth. They were the better team. They just sort of seemed to lose intensity and maybe get out coached slightly there in the middle. Ohio State inserted Alcoholics Anonymous joke here and did bad things to the Boilermakers, 59-31. They jumped out to a 35-7 lead, and, well, they just kind of cruised from there. Stroud was 31-38 for 361 yards and 5 touchdowns, and then they ran for 263 yards. Purdue got raced. Mighty Cincinnati beat South Florida 45-28. South Florida's not a good team. You can't really tell much there. But ex-Bama running back Jerome Ford was out with a leg injury. But their quarterback Desmond Ridder was 31 for 39 with 304 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. There was both teams lost 2 fumbles. That was a little bit of a sloppy game. And Cincinnati intercepted South Florida quarterback Timmy McClain twice. So, yeah, that was ugly, sloppy, lots of turnovers, not good. Michigan beat Penn State in a squeaker, 21-17. Penn State was up 17-14 late in the fourth until Michigan tight end Eric All took a pass from Cade McNamara and outran Penn State. And when I say outran, this is relative. He was rumbling. He's not an O.J. Howard type speedy tight end. It felt like it was in slow motion. But yeah, they pulled ahead with 3.5 minutes left in the game, and uh, Penn State couldn't get anything back. Michigan State took care of business against Maryland, 40-21. Leah was 29 for 48 for 350 yards with two TDs, but an interception. Um, Michigan State's? I have a trouble putting Michigan above Michigan State, but Michigan State's not really that great, I don't think. But Oklahoma, I'm going to say they got hammered by Baylor. The score doesn't show it, but yeah, Oklahoma was had 260 total yards of offense. Um, their quarterback Caleb Williams was 10 for 19 with 146 yards and two picks, and then he got replaced by Spencer Rattler. They're having QB problems in Oklahoma. Yeah, the quarterback whisperer is apparently lost his voice or something. I don't know. Notre Dame took care of Virginia 28-3. Notre Dame didn't have a 100-yard rusher, not one, but they ran for 249 yards as a team. Not bad. Jack Cohn was 15 for 20 with 174 yards and three touchdowns. And Virginia quarterback Jay Woolfolk was 18 of 33 for 196 with three picks. And I think you see the difference in the game right there.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma State nuked TCU 63-17. Good. So, yeah, the new getting rid of your head coach, not helpful in this case. Cowboys had over 400 yards on the ground with count them, 8 rushing touchdowns.
Oof.
Yeah.
That is the definition of trucking somebody right there.
Maybe tanking somebody. I mean, those are wishbone numbers right there.
Yeah.
Or Wake Forest and NC State in the battle of ranked ACC teams. Don't get used to that term. They beat NC State 45-42. Deacon quarterback Sam Hartman threw for 3 touchdowns and ran for another, along with throwing 3 picks. And Wake was able to put the Wolfpack away late. The Demon Deacons are 1 win away from clinching the Atlantic Division. That's the one that Clemson's won the last 6 years in a row, by the way.
Nice.
Baylor. Well, they hammered Oklahoma. We know about that. Brigham Young off this week. Ole Miss beat the Bad Aggies 29-19. NC State, they lost to Wake Forest. Auburn lost to Mississippi State. Wisconsin, they handled the Fighting Hedge Fund managers of Northwestern 35-7. Whiskey held the Wildcats to 239 yards of total offense and intercepted Wildcat quarterbacks 4 times. And I will tell you, I said it last week and I'll say it again, I would hate to have to play Wisconsin right now. They're looking tough. And we know Purdue pounded by the Buckeyes. Iowa got by Minnesota 27-22. The Golden Gophers outgained the Hawkeyes by over 100 yards total offense, but Iowa somehow managed to keep Minnesota at bay. It's one of those, how did that happen games to me? They sort of got outplayed, but then they found a way to win. Pittsburgh beat mighty North Carolina 30-23 in overtime. Quarterback Kenny Pickett was 25 of 43 for 3 touchdowns and a pick. One of his touchdowns was an 11-yard touchdown to tight end Lucas Kroll, the Conqueror, in overtime. That was in overtime. While North Carolina quarterback Sam Howell was 22 of 33 for 2 T's and a pick in overtime that ended the game. So there you go. San Diego State beat Nevada 17-7. They held Nevada to 143 yards of total offense. And Aztec running back Greg Bell had 15 carries for 105 yards. So that was a good old-fashioned defensive game right there. I didn't know those we were allowed to have those anymore.
Yeah, no kidding.
UTSA beat Southern Miss 27-17. Golden Eagles had 189 yards of total offense, including 4 receptions. I think they were 4 of 7 with 1 interception, and they lost 2 fumbles. The Utes of Utah beat mighty Arizona 38-29. And when I say mighty Arizona, that's mighty 1-9 Arizona. Utah quarterback Cameron Bad Mood Rising was 19 of 30 for 294 yards and 2 touchdowns, while running back TJ Pledger had 25 carries for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns for the win. And Arkansas, to end this thing, applied that ugly ass boot trophy to Orgeron's butt, 16-13 in overtime. And I was pleased to see it.
Yes.
All right, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk buy or sell. So we're going to start out. Big surprise, everybody. My number 1 right now is Georgia. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm still holding Georgia until, I guess until the championship game. I don't really see them dropping anything. I guess they could play ugly, but I still don't think you could drop them from number 1, even if they do have an ugly win.
The way their style with the defense and then the complementary offense that just pounds you until you bring everybody up and then throws over you. To me, that's kind of the definition of ugly anyway. So, but yeah.
Well, I think Stetson Bennett completed, I think, how many, 17 passes, which was a season high for him yesterday. So.
All right, Bill, what do you think?
Holding Georgia, neither buying nor selling. It is too late in the season to start getting squirrely with our finances. So, if I'm gonna move on Georgia, I advise to wait till bowl season. So I'm straddling. I'm not buying. I'm not selling.
So everybody's taking the conservative, low yield approach on this one.
I think it's the best right now.
Well, that's the safe bet, but now we're starting to get into things that are a little more high risk, and we start out with number 2 Alabama.
I'm a buy on Alabama. I'm very much a buy on Alabama.
All right, Bo.
Yeah, I missed all of that. StreamYards hates me.
Oh.
Well, I have number 2 Alabama. Are we buying or selling?
Oh no, I'm buying. After what I saw yesterday out of Georgia, I'm buying. I think they're vulnerable. I think we can get it.
We have to play a great game up front, but I agree. All right, and my number 3 is Ohio State.
Ohio State got past the poison pill that is the Boilermakers, so I'll buy a little Ohio State. I won't sink much in it. Give me a good order on Ohio State, but nothing that's going to sink the farm if they implode in postseason. So I'll buy a little Ohio State.
I'm gonna sell my Ohio State because I wanna flip that over and buy some Oregon with that.
Well, this was one of those I wanted. I tend to like to take the bring value in with the head-to-heads, and I put Oregon at number 4, but you can flip those. And Oregon is looking pretty good as of late. So tell me what you think about Oregon here.
Yeah, that's probably what I would have done, is just flip those. Give me Oregon at 3 and Ohio State at 4.
All right, that's fair enough. And I will tell you something else. Ohio State ends with Michigan State and Michigan, so this whole top 10 is going to look very different at the end of 2 weeks, no matter what happens. So we might have somebody moving up from 6 or 7 up into the top 4 before it's over with, depending on what happens.
In
Yeah.
light of that, I'm selling Ohio State. Sorry, I just predict a rough winter for Ohio State. If they're facing Michigan and Michigan State, I'd sell. That completely changes my perspective. So I'm selling Ohio State.
Well, I can't say I blame you for that.
You
It's
talked him
going to
into it.
You talked me into a sell.
Talked him into a short. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. If any of these three teams goes 2-0 over the next couple of weeks, I think that team will be the one that ends up pre-championship game in the top four.
Yeah, well, they could all. It's also very likely they could all go 1-1.
Let's see. Who does Michigan have? Michigan State have next week. Let's see. Okay. Michigan State ends with Penn State. Penn State's a tough out. They should win it, but it won't necessarily be an easy one. Oh, and Michigan has Maryland next week. So,
Maryland can't decide what they want to be this season.
yeah, their defense, their offense is a little chaotic. They can make some explosive plays, but they can be devastatingly bad. Lee is mistake prone. He's a good quarterback. He's got a little bit of that. He's a little bit of a.
Yeah, he's a gunslinger.
That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry, it's Sunday morning, guys. I need more coffee.
No,
Which is
I don't have
very
an
hard
IV.
to classify anybody else because, Mississippi State's quarterback, his name is Will Rogers, and he plays in the air raid offense for the Pirate. If there's a gunslinger in the college football, it's Will Rogers, right?
yeah.
Yeah. If you want the names to fit the narrative, yeah.
I
Maybe
don't
he's
want
more of
to.
a swashbuckler. I don't know.
I don't want to wander too far afield, but do you guys remember when Talia was like the next big thing, and it was going to be a generational quarterback from the Tagovailoa family at Alabama? Does anybody remember that? Hands
I do
up if you
He's
remember
not as
that.
far away as you think.
And then Bryce Young happened, right?
Then Mac Jones happened.
Oh no, that's right. Then Mac Jones happened. Sorry, I get. There's so many quarterbacks these days. I get them mixed up in my head.
I know.
You can't keep all our great quarterbacks straight, huh?
Which is something that I never thought I would be saying as an Alabama fan. But yes, it's hard to keep all the great quarterbacks straight.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We've got the top four. Let's go to the number 5, which right now is Cincinnati.
Now I'm selling Cincinnati at 5. I'm sorry.
Then I'm buying them. Sell them to me. I'm buying them up. I said this the first week we started this feature, and I love this feature. Cincinnati is a penny stock. Inject them into my veins. I am high and hyped on Cincinnati.
Yeah, but what kind of return are you looking for from Cincinnati? The best that you can hope for is a January 1st bowl victory.
They are a poison pill moving right now. They are shaking things up. They're causing outrage when they get put in the playoff conversation. They're causing outrage when they're taking out of the playoff conversation. I'm enjoying the fireworks and sparks that are happening around Cincinnati. And
no, it's enjoyable, but to me, Cincinnati is like some random altcoin that you've never heard of. And it's like, okay, so all right, so why are we buying duck coin? Well, what's the utility there? That's what I need to know.
And you hope there's
Cincinnati
no secret back door to the encryption,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. So, I've got Cincinnati top 10, but I don't need to own Cincinnati for them to cause havoc. I guess that's what I mean.
Well,
Yeah, to me 3 and 4 are interchangeable, and honestly, my 5, 6, and 7 I think are interchangeable, and I could have dropped them 2 spots below number 6, Michigan State.
I'm selling Michigan State this week just because of those stupid jerseys. My God, what in the world were they thinking? I'm sorry, that's way too Oregon for me, and it's like all of a sudden fluorescent green is one of our colors. It's like Tennessee with their stupid black uniforms yesterday. What the crap, Tennessee? So anyway, yeah. But I mean, as far as football goes, I'll buy some Michigan State. I think they get Michigan this year. At least I hope so. Just because I don't like khaki pants.
Yeah, the khaki pants things make just makes me think of a coach that's less interested in pressing fundamentals and more a coach that wants to sell me a warranty on my washer dryer from Best Buy. So I'm buying Michigan. If only because I want to see them wreck Ohio State. Don't like the Buckeyes.
All right. Well, my number 7, right below Michigan State, is Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I'll buy Michigan at 7.
I'll buy Michigan at 7.
Yeah, I think there's value there for Michigan at 7. I think I don't know. I just feel like Ohio State drops one of the two between Michigan and Michigan State.
That's 2 tough games in a row. I mean,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
a tough way to end your season.
I could see them dropping both, to be honest.
No, I could see them dropping both as well, but it just feels like one of the two is going to happen. I don't know which of the two. I don't have a feel for it because I don't watch enough Michigan or Michigan State to have a feel. So, but it just feels like one of those two is going to happen.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I almost dropped Ohio State to number 4 and put Michigan State and Michigan at 5 and 6, so that they would all 3 be bunched right there together, which kind of seems about the way it should be, the way they've been playing. I mean, Ohio State, I think, been consistently better this year, except for the one game against Oregon, who actually, maybe that was not a fluke. I don't know. It's hard to say. This season has seen so much inconsistency, with the exception of one team. Alabama, has been fairly inconsistent, and I think a lot of these other guys were inconsistent too, which makes this a really tough year to try to figure out all this stuff. My number 8 guys, I don't like putting them there. And
if you say Notre Dame, I'm going to fire you.
Can I just go ahead and put in my notice?
He doesn't have hire and fire powers. If you say Notre Dame, I'm going to fire you. I
do. Yeah. Well, it's Notre Dame.
All right. Anybody want to buy some Notre Dame? Because I don't have any, but if I had some, it would be for sale.
Yeah, I'm selling Notre Dame.
Give me some Baylor, instead of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. Notre Dame got schwacked by Cincy. You were outperformed by a penny stock, Notre Dame. You're supposed to be the I don't know, the Charles Schwab of college football teams. You're supposed to be the AT&T, like the 100-year stock, right? And you guys couldn't get out of your own road against a penny stock. No, I'm selling all Notre Dame, and I'm advising all the listeners to sell Notre Dame. Yeah, I went there. I said that.
Guys, have you not noticed what's been happening to these 100-year stocks, especially communication stocks like AT&T? Voice is going away, so those things are just hanging on by a thread. They're
Yeah.
having to switch over to internet access for their dollar. Yeah, they're not quite so
I mean,
stable
I
anymore.
can think of three teams just off the top of my head that I would rather have in the top 10 besides Notre Dame. And that being like, I mean, Oklahoma State,
Hmm.
Ole Miss, Baylor, before Texas A&M. I'd put them in the top 10 over Notre Dame as well.
I can't put Texas A&M in the top 10. They don't. Their offense is not explosive enough, with the exception of one game, which we shall not mention.
Mm. Mm.
But let me just say, before we leave Notre Dame, um, Alabama legacy. Howard crossed the third place for them, and he had two solo tackles, and a sack yesterday. So just want to give a shout out to Howard Cross the third, whose dad I played football against. Actually, I
Nice.
played everything against him growing up. If you're 8 years old and it's your first actual non-T-ball at bat, and you walk up and the catcher is a full foot taller than you, that's a little intimidating.
Just
Let me
a
let me
bit.
just say that. But I
Yeah, but
still
that
got to
makes your
hit.
strike zone smaller, right?
Yeah, I don't know. A catcher that's 8 years old and about 5'10". Whew, he was a big kid.
Good night.
I'll tell you what. He's a good guy and a smart guy, though. Yeah, he was, and also quite the character. Anyway, moving on from that. So you guys sort of guessed the rest of my top 10. I've got Oklahoma State here at number 9.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
You can have it all. I'm not completely sold on Oklahoma State. They'll face a good defense and be utterly crushed. So I'm straddling, leaning to sell.
So who does Oklahoma State have left besides Oklahoma? Texas Tech. They play Texas Tech next week, and then they end with Oklahoma. So,
Well, I'm looking down the line at bowl season.
okay.
So I think when it matters, they're going to face somebody who actually has a capital D defense, and to quote Bruce Springsteen, man, that's all she wrote.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I couldn't. Uh, I couldn't put Oklahoma in the top 10. They have struggled with. I mean, they just got their first loss, but they have struggled this year, and their offense is a hot mess. They're having quarterback issues. They just can't figure it out. So I just don't think they're a top 10 team. My number 10 though is quite the entertaining team to watch, and that's Ole Miss.
Oh, I'm buying Ole Miss.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm buying Ole Miss. I'll sell my Oklahoma and State and buy Ole Miss just because their CEO is a ridiculous clown in a good way, unlike Dan Mullen. God, I can't hate that young man. I'm sorry. You know, there's one thing he did that really kind of pissed me off this season, but otherwise, I mean, he even said, and I've mentioned this before, but he even said after the infamous mic drop, he ran over and told his AD, we got to score a whole lot of points today because I just said something pretty damn stupid.
Well, at least he has a little bit of self-awareness, you know.
Yeah. So I'm buying Ole Miss. I'll buy them at 10. They're jank. They're underperforming for how they can perform. the game yesterday should not have been as close as it was.
No, it shouldn't. It's. I mean, if you just, I went back and reviewed the first parts that I missed of the game, and it's like they should have been up. Like felt like 28-0 instead of 15.
Yes.
Yeah, they couldn't punch it in, from like the 2. So that always bothers me. But they did get a safety out of it, which is always cool to see.
Yeah, well, you have to remember though, Texas A&M's got a pretty good defense. They can make an offense look bad. I mean, look what they did to Auburn last week.
Yeah, be very careful what you say next about Texas A&M.
Well, I mean, they're not a bad team. They're a good team, and they're actually not much further down than 10 in my eyes. I mean, you've got Oklahoma probably at around 11. And yeah, it's possible I could have dropped Notre Dame down, but yeah, they play that national schedule. They don't play a conference schedule. It's really hard to figure them out sometimes. But yeah, this is not their year, and they're not nearly as good as they were last year. And they were a borderline top 4 team last year.
Yeah. When we're doing this, folks, and when we're having fun with pretending stocks and everything for football teams, Notre Dame is almost like a strictly European-based company that only trades on the Euro markets when we're trying to figure out where to place them, just because they have that janky, national schedule. It's like, I hear about the, Notre Dame being world eaters. You guys can literally write your own, or not you guys, Notre Dame can literally write their own schedule year in and year out. And yeah, they've got to pick good teams to go on strength of schedule. But at the same time, it's like, why am I supposed to be impressed with these guys again?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at Notre Dame's schedule. They have one win over a top 25 team this year. The only other ranked team that they have played, they lost to, and that was Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Okay. They are the remaining schedule is Georgia Tech and the mighty Stanford Trees. So, yeah, you're 9-1 so far. But that comes on the they've beaten teams like Florida State and Toledo, and they did beat Purdue. So I don't know if that's worth anything or not. But Navy, USC, Virginia. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they play 5 games. They have to play 5 games in the ACC every year because they're, 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the conference.
Yeah,
which is just strange, but
I mean,
it could sort of weaken their schedule from what it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you had to pick a conference that you wanted to play against and you wanted wins, the ACC would be the one that you would pick.
Florida State and Miami both tried it, but what happened to them is they've kind of sunk to the level of the conference.
That's true.
I don't know, ACC where football powers go to power down.
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, if we're just talking wins losses, the UTSA Roadrunners have a better record than Notre Dame does. It's just true. UTSA number 23, undefeated. Go Roadrunners!
Woohoo!
So yeah, that's there's your buy, sell, or hold stock tips, football stock tips from John Henry. Which brings us around when we're talking about buying, selling, or hold. We're facing Suey Pigs, guys, this coming Saturday. I think Alabama handily beats Arkansas. Now, handily for this team this year, that's handily 2021 Alabama and handily 2020 Alabama are 2 different things. We can't look back. We can only look forward. We can only look at what's in front of us. I think if the Alabama that played this week shows up next week, we beat the brakes off Arkansas. We win by, I'll give them 25.5 over this Arkansas. If the Alabama that played LSU shows up, we gonna have a problem. Our O-line needs to stiffen. Our secondary needs to stay on point and don't get caught looking at the sidelines. We just need to play 60 minutes of consistent football and not get embarrassed by a team that honestly probably shouldn't be in the top 25. Even though they're just in the top 25. I really don't want to get our season spoiled by Arkansas.
Yeah, I agree. I think I said earlier in the year that I was a little worried about Arkansas, especially with it being where it is on the schedule. I have no doubt that they can handle Arkansas. The question is, like you said, which team shows up and will they? Right? Don't get caught looking ahead to the Iron Bowl. You know, they need to take care of Arkansas, and then they can start worrying about Bo Picks and how many interceptions they're going to have. So,
if last year's game was not we blew them out score-wise, but they were very pesky and gave us a lot of problems, and that was a game that was much more competitive than it looked on paper. Arkansas can make you look bad on offense.
Mm-hmm.
They're a tough defense, but what I don't think is going to happen is they're not going to come out there in a 3-4 when they've been running a 4-3 all year. Their coach is not dumb enough to do stuff like that and save things when they've been for games even after losses. They're not going to do profoundly stupid stuff like that. They're a well-coached team. They'll give us problems there. And it'll be a closer game than people expect, but it should be a solid victory. I don't know if we can beat them by 3 touchdowns, but it'll be between 2 and 3 touchdowns, I think.
Is there a line on that game yet?
I just checked that. ESPN doesn't have a line on it.
Yeah.
I would suspect that'll probably kick in maybe tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, it feels like about a 17-point win to me.
That's about what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do we even have a kickoff time for this game?
No. Wait, no. 3:30. 3:30. They'll be on CBS, which means you'll be listening to Eli Gold.
Oh, okay. So I don't have to. Okay. I have to remember to turn on Eli Gold, or I'm going to have to hear about Tim Tebow. Okay.
Which I hate because I love listening to Ness, but fucking Gary Danielson. And here's the thing. All right, I don't hate anyone on a personal level in this sport or in this business. I have heard tell that off the hook, Gary basically says, "Look, CBS pushes me to call the games like I do because it gets people talking about it." I get that.
Yeah,
I get that. But when the TV comes on, all that. Well, no, objectively, he's probably a nice guy. All that shit just goes right out the window. And I'm like, shut up, Gary. It wasn't targeting.
Man.
Nick Saban putting on his headset isn't targeting.
I will tell you that I would love to actually meet him at some reception one day wearing a Shut Up Gary t-shirt.
Or hat,
he
or
would think that
pin.
was the funniest thing in the world.
cufflinks, whatever.
And
And to be
Yeah, there
fair,
you go.
this season, I there have been a couple of times when Gary has said legitimately funny things, not like I'm laughing at your stupidity, Gary, but legitimately funny stuff. And where have you been for the last decade plus, funny 2021 Gary Danielson? So yeah, that's the call on it. So just flip your TVs to Eli, or your radio on to Eli Gold, and go from there.
Thank you for the tip.
You're quite welcome. So that is 3:30. That is the last home game for Bama this season.
And that's 2:30 God's time, by the way.
2:30
Yeah.
God's time. I'm sorry. I'm out here on the Swamp Coast. So
Yeah, you're on Heathen time.
I'm on
Heathen
Heathen
time.
Heathen time. So 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 in the Holy Land, and for those of you out on the left coast, I do people in California watch football? I don't know. I don't know what they do over there.
They watch it while they're eating their avocado toast.
They watch soccer, I think. Anyway,
Lacrosse.
look,
Ultimate frisbee.
Ultimate frisbee.
yeah, frisbee golf. Kickball. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I'm feeling it could be anywhere from 20.5 to 23.5. You guys are aiming a little low on it. I get it. I understand.
Well, that's just me. I had zero confidence they were going to cover yesterday with a 52.5.
Mm.
It's like, okay, dang, they did. Holy crap. Okay. Well, I don't know what the line is on this game, but it feels like the line's going to come out around 20.5, maybe. But it feels more like a 14-17.
I think
to me.
you're probably right. I mean, I cynically said that yesterday's game against NMSU, the spread was like 50 points or something like that. And I said,
yeah, it was ridiculous.
I said, so yeah, Saban will probably win in like a 17.5 point squeaker. Just because I was still feeling very salty and mad about LSU. But of course, we came in and cleaned their chronometers. You guys are probably a lot closer. I mean, you look at the points different, just looking at the windup. PPG is 30.9 for Archie, and PPG for Alabama is 44.6. And if the averages hold, then yeah, you guys are righter than I am. I know in my heart of hearts it's not going to be a 3 TD win. It would be nice to see, just to put a game to bed, to put a conference game against a ranked team to bed. But you guys are probably a lot closer to the truth. So, do we have anything else? Any closing thoughts this week, guys?
I just want this team to keep improving. If we keep improving, don't take steps back and clean up the communications, both on the defensive back end, on the offensive line, I think we'll be okay. We just can't have one of those games where we start slow and get sloppy.
Agreed.
Any of the rest of our games.
I expect, given the depth of the running back room, I expect to see less reliance on the running game going forward. Not that they've really relied on it a lot so far, but we've got 2 running backs left in the running back room, and a linebacker and a converted wide receiver. So,
I think it's 3.
we have three running backs left.
I think.
Okay. Well, regardless, it's a whole lot less than it was at the beginning of the year. So, B Rob, he's a workhorse. He's probably going to do B Rob things. But I
And he seems to
expect,
be quite durable, which is helpful.
yeah, he
this time of
does.
year.
Yeah, knock on wood. He does seem to be fairly durable. So, but I do expect to see a bit more pass heavy schemes these next 2 weeks. Probably, I mean, schematically that plays into the game plan to beat Arkansas and Auburn both is run the pass. So that's, yeah, I just don't. It feels like they're in survive and advance mode, and do we have a week between Auburn and the championship game this year or not?
No,
can't
I don't
remember.
think so.
No, I
Okay,
don't, I don't believe
yeah.
so.
Yeah, because I was going to say, it almost feels like it's like they're just trying to get through the rest of these games until they can get to a point to where he has time to, to really figure. Because I feel like if we make it through the championship game and make it into the playoffs, that we're going to see something different once the playoffs hits. We're probably going to see some new lineups and some new wrinkles. So, but getting to that point is going to be crucial.
I hope O'Brien's been playing some secret playbook close to his chest this season, and you're right, and we just see like some voodoo stuff that other teams are literally like so frustrated that they're screaming at the refs, "Is that legal?" And the refs are saying, "Yeah, that's legal."
You mean like catching an onside kick?
Yes. I hope there's stuff like I hope Nick is like going down into the catacombs and breaking out the ancient scrolls and getting ready to unleash some absolute black magic in the postseason. But right now, with the focus being on two things, Arkansas and not getting hurt anymore. I'll say this in kind of joking closing or parting. Does anyone know the whereabouts of Scott Cochran yesterday during the Alabama game? Because unless you can verify that he was not near Bryant-Denny Stadium, I'm not going to assume that wasn't his fault yesterday.
I'm not laughing. That is not funny.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So
that was a bad joke too.
So I'm just looking at next week. Well, all right, folks. I think that just about wraps it up for this week. Thank you all. Nobody got the trivia question this week, which was, what was the last ranked football team that NMSU played? The last 1A FBS ranked football team that NMSU played. If you know what it is, if you discover it, if it pops in your head like, oh yeah, that was... leave it in the comments under the video, and you get the shout out next week for the trivia winner. And until next week, I am Bill Sylvie for John Henry Boganora and Jess, who had to step away early today. We will see you guys next Sunday morning on the Houndstooth podcast. Have a good one, guys.